It's kind of a rough last day in government for Elon Musk, who showed up to the Oval Office for some kind of send-off with a black eye, just hours after new bombshell reporting on allegations of his voracious drug use. In a lengthy article citing people familiar with his activities, the New York Times reports that Musk's drug consumption went well beyond occasional use. He told people he was taking so much ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, that it was affecting his bladder, a known effect of chronic use. I learned that today from the New York Times. Didn't know that. He took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, and he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. The Times adds that while his drug use on the campaign trail was more than occasional, it is unclear whether he was taking drugs when he became a fixture at the White House this year. Now, NBC News has not independently verified the Times reporting, but when NBC asked the White House if it sought drug testing for Musk before his government employment began, the White House did not directly respond. Musk was asked about the reporting today in the Oval, jumping in before the question was even done.
The president mentioned that you had to deal with all the slings and arrows during your time at Doge. There's this.
Well, some of the people, some of the media organizations in this room were the slingers.
Well, so there is a New York Times report today that accuses you of blurring the line between.
Is the New York Times, is that the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on the Russiagate? Is it the same organization?
I got to check my Pulitzer counter.
It is. I think the judge just ruled against the New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax, and that they might have to give back that Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times, let's move on.
Okay, then
next question.
For the record, the Pulitzer Times one has not been rescinded, and it was about the Trump-Russia connection. A judge ruled that Trump's defamation suit against the Pulitzer Board over awards given to coverage of Russian interference in the 2016 election can proceed, but that's all. Teddy Schleifer covers billionaires for the Times. He's covered Elon Musk extensively, and he joins me now. Teddy, I know it was your two colleagues that put this piece out today. You've been doing a lot of reporting on Musk and know him well and reported on him. I mean, I got to say, it was kind of, well, it was one jaw-dropping revelation after another, and I just kept thinking, this guy's life seems like a lot. There are multiple custody battles over children with multiple women. There seems to be, according to the Times reporting, a very significant amount of drug use that even disturbed people in his life. And he's got like 10 jobs, I guess.
Yeah, and then there's the black eye, Chris. We can't forget that Elon took from one of those kids, apparently. Look, he has obviously a sprawling social life, and the reason why I think it matters for viewers or for Donald Trump or for Tesla or SpaceX shareholders is these companies are really the Elon Musk show. As we saw with Doge, it is the Elon Musk show. As we see with Tesla, a lot of people buy stock in Tesla because they believe in Elon Musk's. So his personal life is very much commingled with his corporate life, and it's impossible to assess Elon's ability to lead these companies if you don't know things about how many drugs he is doing.
I mean, there's also independent reporting. There's a little bit of like a common sense alarm that goes off in my head about the following. This is an individual who has 5 or 6 companies he's running, right? The Boring Company and Neuralink and Tesla and SpaceX. And he's also running this operation at the government. He's got a video game system installed in the office that he gets in the EOB while he's apparently taking a lot of drugs and is managing a private life that involves like over a dozen children with multiple women. Like at a certain point, it starts to feel like, can he really be doing all this? Actually?
Well, I mean, there's been some credible reporting that he's not even really playing the video games, so I think that's an important caveat here on the Elon Musk resume. That would be the most damaging thing I say today. But look, I mean, Musk clearly is a believer that there's in the Messiah complex here, right? The reason why he got involved in the Trump campaign is because he believed that he could save Western civilization from the problems of illegal immigration and crime, and only he can fix it. He even said that if he lost in Wisconsin in that judicial race earlier this year, that that American Western civilization would crumble. The reason why he is so overextended, I think, is related to the way he sees his role in the world, which is, if I don't create Tesla, no one's going to create Tesla. If I don't create XAI, no one's going to create XAI. And if I don't save, America from crippling deficits and debt, then Donald Trump is cooked. So, the reason why he is, in fact, having so many children based on our reporting is in part because of this belief that, he is the type of person who should kind of continue to populate the world.
Say more.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're right. There has been some coverage of Elon Musk's drug use in the past. He himself has acknowledged that he used ketamine. As he said, it was with a prescription and only every couple weeks to help with depression. But what we found is that the drug use was much more frequently than previously known. And it wasn't just the volume, it was that these drugs appeared to be mixed. So from the ketamine use that at times has been near daily and got to the point where it was causing bladder issues as he was joining Trump on the campaign trail, to the use of ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, as well as this pill box that contained, as many as 20 pills, including one with the marking of Adderall. So there were some people close to him. It's been really hard for reporters to penetrate the sort of circle of people who know him. But in recent months, people had started to talk to me and my colleague, Kirsten Grind, because there have been people close to him who have had concerns about his drug use.
This is going to sound like a dumb question, but what is ketamine and how do you take it? And what would a normal, either recreational or prescribed use look like? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's this powerful anesthetic that can serve as a sedative, and it has been approved by the FDA for use in medical procedures. There are doctors who have prescribed it for psychiatric treatment, like depression, but those doctors are supposed to have special licenses, and the FDA has warned that the use of this drug, can come with these serious side effects and risks, including addiction and bladder issues.
Does that mean you lose? What are the bladder issues?
The bladder issues, it's not one single bladder issue that can come from chronic use of the drug, which can be, can be consumed in a variety of ways, including through lozenges and nose sprays. In addition to being used medically, it has also become an increasingly popular recreational drug, I think particularly in the sort of out west in the tech world. And so, but the FDA has warned that it can have these side effects, and the bladder issues can involve pain and control.
My God, you don't even know what to say. I mean, what is the sense that, obviously, the reporting is about a period in time that ended in November. He's leaving after a lot of political analysis, sort of assessing that he cost the Republicans a seat in Wisconsin. I mean, what is the sense of how much we still don't know about Elon Musk and Donald Trump?
Well, I think that's a really good question. And obviously, our story comes at this moment when he is departing from Washington, at least to some extent. And I think that all of us are going to be processing and analyzing what has happened, both publicly but also behind the scenes over the past year. And it's also important to note that while our reporting on his drug use, this drug use that was much more intense than previously known, kind of only went up through the end of last year, and we can't say with certainty whether he was continued to use drugs once he, entered the White House and was given the keys to slash the federal bureaucracy. And, listen, we asked the White House about whether or not they had drug tested Musk, and they refused to answer those questions. SpaceX, one of his companies, after he smoked weed in 2018 on Joe Rogan's podcast. That triggered, SpaceX has billions of dollars in contracts, and they are required because of that to maintain a drug-free workplace and test their employees. And our reporting showed that Musk receives advance warnings of those tests. So what's certain is that there doesn't seem to be there hasn't been any sort of scrutiny or true monitoring or testing of this drug use, even as it sort of bubbled up behind the scenes. And Today the White House issued a statement saying to us, saying that they, just basically saying that they gave Musk a lot of credit for what he's done, but still refusing to answer our questions about whether or not they've drug tested him.
But importantly, did they deny anything in your story?
Nobody has denied anything in our story. And today at this press conference, the first question that Musk fielded was about our story, and he shut that down. He didn't even let the question out in its entirety. He just, he refused to engage in our reporting. He hadn't responded to our questions that we started to submit as early as Monday. And he basically just instructed everybody to move on.
I know he has a lot of personal relationships. Are all of those relationships governed by NDAs, or is it possible to report on any of his past partners?
It is extremely hard to report on him. Like many powerful people, he has required NDAs of people in his inner circle and who have interacted with him. But we were able to ultimately interview more than 12 people, more than a dozen people who have known him and have worked for him. And so, that felt to us like it was a significant body of people, including growing numbers of people who have been close to him, who have been worried about this.
Yeah, sometimes it's not people trying to make him look bad, it's people that are most worried. What can you tell us about the box of pills and the 20 pills a day? Mm-hmm. I can barely choke down my vitamin C. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we can't go into all the details of what we've observed.
One of the reasons why, again, people want Elon to be gone, and some of them have left over him and some of them have distanced themselves over to him, is that there's all these scandals around substances and who's putting what and where. And just, guys, it's such a mess. And it's hypocrisy. It's yet another, the rich and wealthy and well-connected can do whatever they want without certainly legal consequences, but often even fines or employment concerns. And if you did that at your job, you would be lucky to simply be fired, right? Right in the comments. If you did what Elon is accused of doing with putting substances in his body, again, on the job, right? Like, this is in the course of him working with this and being at Mar-a-Lago and, being a part of the transition process, however formal or informal. Imagine if you did that at your job, whatever it was, whether you were in customer service, whether you worked as an attorney, whether you worked as a nurse or a teacher. Imagine. You would be lucky to simply be fired. Odds are you'd face some kind of prosecution, right? Like, let's be clear. Especially if you happen to be African American or indigenous or what have you. If you weren't, a white man like Elon is. And so it's yet another thing, guys, about how the rich and wealthy and well-connected are above the law. And even a lot of conservatives are getting a little sick and tired of it. Because it's the entitlement, guys. It's the entitlement. For Elon, this goes back to even, like, I am a proud member of the I Hated Elon Before It Was Cool Club. Because I hated him because I'm a socialist. I hate pretty much all capitalists, let's be clear. But, like, I always distrusted him because he was a union buster and things like that. But there was a moment where, he went that famous Rogan thing where him and Rogan smoked on Rogan's show. And while that was happening, Elon's company was basically punishing people who did the exact same thing he did in their personal life. This man's a hypocrite, and guys, I gotta be honest, I don't feel sorry for him.